Hello, my name is Jen Underwood. I'm a Senior Program Manager on the Power BI team. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you today the enhancements that we rolled out on July 24th. Keep in mind, this is just the beginning of an analytic journey. Our team moves very rapidly. We release on a weekly basis new features and enhancements to the Power BI offerings. The features that will see today were influenced by over 500,000 unique users from 45,000 companies spanning 185 countries across the globe. Let's take a look at what they felt was a priority and what we delivered last week. What we're going to cover in this session is just a really quick overview of Power BI. There's an assumption that you've already been through some of the deeper dives earlier on during the preview. If you haven't, we do have those available for you. We're going to focus on what is specifically new in this release. We're going to see lots of demos. We're going to talk about getting started, resources that are available, and I'm going to be on hand for questions as a few of the other engineers on my team. Power BI enables anyone to get rapid, actionable insights from any data, any way, anywhere. Within minutes, you'll see and experience your data in new ways that you never imagined were possible. Using natural language, simple drag and drop ease, you can proactively monitor key metrics, spot real-time trends, and get critical alerts from personalized dashboards. Our team was motivated to get folks functional, up and running in 5 minutes. So it is very, very quick, very easy to get started and to see immediate value. So when I look at Power BI, the entire solution offering, it's probably 4 areas here. I don't have the APIs on here. But essentially, we have the Power BI desktop. That's the authoring tool for loading and connecting data, cleansing it, going ahead and modeling a semantic model, and then drag and drop report authoring. We then publish it to powerbi.com, and powerbi.com allows you to collaborate with teams and to view that data wherever you are. It also empowers the mobile apps for iOS, Android, and Windows, not just the tablets, but the phones as well. From a technical perspective, if I look at the architecture, you have a couple different types of tools to author. You have the Power BI desktop that I just mentioned. We also have the Power Tools that live inside of Excel version 2013 and higher. We do support the assets and the content published from there. We have on-premises data. We have cloud type data and software as a service type data. And then we have the different rendering capabilities within modern browsers. Note that it's not just Internet Explorer. We work with Safari, Firefox, Google Chrome, all the modern browsers, because we are an HTML5 application, friendly, responsive, and modern. And then, of course, we have the mobile apps. I've mentioned them a few times already. In this specific release of Power BI, every single area of our offerings were enhanced, from data sources to the transformations and the data preparations. We added more calculations, enhanced the modeling experience and user interface. Probably the most popular area that we invested in was report design, having custom color control, axis control, label control, legend control, rich text boxes. We also brought that into the web browser, meaning you don't even have to use a desktop app if you don't want to. So for folks that are on Mac, you could use a web browser. We also added group collaboration in this release in organizational content packs, so that once somebody in your organization who's a subject matter expert creates the right set of data, reports, and dashboards, they can put their own logo on it and distribute it out for everyone else to personalize and use on their own. We added an Android app in this particular release, so now we have all the different platforms covered for mobile, iOS, Windows, and Android. We enhanced our REST API and surprised the world with releasing an open source GitHub D3GAS custom visualization framework. In the area of data sources, the most significant enhancement is in the area of direct connectivity. That's important because it really allows for large-scale applications, so empowering and bringing the power to Power BI. Some of the direct connect data sources we have include Spark for Azure HD Insight, the Azure SQL Data Warehouse that can scale up and down on demand, and the Azure SQL Database. There are several more and many more on the way. We also have support for live streaming analytics and the REST API to push live data from the Internet of Things type data sources. Each and every week, we add more software as a service data sources. My favorite by far is Google Analytics, with MailChimp taking a quick second. Last but not least, the area where most folks were quite excited this particular release is in the area of Power BI Personal Gateway. That allows connecting and data refresh multiple times per day from on-premises data sources such as SQL Server, Oracle, Excel, Access, even text files. So let's take a look at that.
In this video, I'll show you how to set up a refreshable connection to your on-premises data using the Power BI Personal Gateway. Previously, you could only connect and refresh from cloud data sources, but now with the Personal Gateway, you can connect to on-premises sources as well. I'm actually going to use a really simple CSV file as an example here. This is a file that just exists on my desktop, and I'm going to set up refresh from this into the Power BI service. I've already created a Power BI desktop file that extracts the data out of that CSV and builds some simple visualizations on top of it. I've also already uploaded this to the Power BI service, and I've built this dataset, report, and dashboard from it. Now, if I want to start refreshing this data, I come to the dataset and choose to schedule a refresh. You'll see I get guided through the steps that I need to set up the Personal Gateway. Firstly, I need to go and install it. So I'll click here and it will start downloading. Currently, we only support 64-bit machines, and it does need to be installed on a machine that's turned on when the refresh happens. And this is a totally self-service application. You don't need to be an administrator on your machine. All you need to do is download it and you get started straight away. I'll go through the wizard, and I'll even get some warnings telling me that, hey, you're installing this on a laptop computer, so if it's turned off or not connected, then the refresh won't work. And if you're over a wireless network, then maybe it'll be a little bit slow. I'm going to ignore those for now. I'll accept the license agreement, and I get to choose a directory where the gateway will be installed. Once it's installed, I'll need to configure some settings to get the gateway connected to Power BI. Firstly, I need to sign into Power BI. So just put in the same credentials that you use to log into the Power BI service here. I enter my Windows account here. And I get a notification that the gateway is up and running. I even get a little pop-up down in the bottom to tell me that everything's started, and I can see it in the tray down here. And if I need to come back and update the password at any point, that's where I can do that as well. Back up in the service, you can see that I'm through a few more of these steps. I can see that the gateway's online, and now I can start managing the data sources that I want to refresh. And I've got a connection to the file that I want to refresh here. I can see that the credentials that I'll need to use to access this file are my Windows credentials. I'll sign into this. If I was connecting to a SQL Server database or a Teradata warehouse, I'd use the credentials that I would normally use to log into those. And if I have multiple data sources in this dataset, I'd see them all appear here, and I could enter different credentials for each one. There are two ways that we can actually get the data to refresh. I can either do it manually, or I can schedule it. Let's do it manually to start with. You can see that my data runs up to Q3, but I'm actually going to go and update that by updating the CSV file and just pasting in some more data. You can see now that I've got Q4 data in here as well. I'll save this file. And now if I go back to my dashboard, all I need to do is click on the dataset and choose to refresh now. I'll get an indicator that it's loading. and after a few seconds you'll see the data updates automatically. I can also schedule a refresh for this, and I can see under the schedule refresh, if I turn this on, I can choose to refresh either daily or weekly, and I can control the times at which this refresh happens. I can add up to 6 different times if I want to. I'll also get a notification if the refresh ever fails. That'll get emailed to me so I can go and check if anything's gone wrong. And that's all I need to do. It's really simple to install the Power BI Personal Gateway and set up a refresh back to your on-premises data sources, such as CSV files, SQL Server, or Teradata. Thanks very much for watching.
Thank you, Will, for that fantastic demo. In the area of data preparation, Power BI for a few years now has had world-class data mashup and transformation with the Power Query add-in for Excel. In the Power BI desktop, we've unified that experience along with Power Pivot and Power View into one user experience. In doing so, we did bring those data prep features into Power BI desktop. So when you connect to a data source, you then have the ability to edit a query, and you'll have the abilities there to dedupe, merge, append, pivot, unpivot, fix errors. We even have a fairly sophisticated, powerful M language available for you to do all sorts of custom manipulation of data. And we all know that data prep is really about 80% of the work on a BI application. From a modeling and calculations perspective, once you have the data prepared, it is automatically loaded into a semantic model. If you're connecting to a relational database that does have primary and foreign key relationships, those are automatically detected for you. There's also automatic relationship detection between different types of data sources based on the name. If it doesn't detect relationships for you, you can certainly set them on your own. Power BI does have a fairly sophisticated, what we're looking at here is the model view. We have one-to-one relationships, one-to-many relationships, and many-to-many relationships. And most tools in the self-service BI market don't exactly handle many-to-many very well. You usually have to flatten the data set. And in our world, thou shalt not flatten. You can really keep a very rich slice, dice, multi-dimensional model. We also have the ability to create calculated columns to categorize your data. So you have, it's a geospatial data type, or maybe it's a URL, it's an HTTP link that you want to show up as a hyperlink in your report. We also have Smart DAX formula editor, and in that case, I'm showing this here on the screen. You can have comments, it can be multiple lines. The 200 plus DAX functions that are available, I think we added 12 more in this particular release, are available in there. And a few of the new ones that we added were around percentiles, medians, grouping, and unions. So let's have Will give you another demo on that one.
Let's take a look at how you can connect to data and transform it on the way into the Power BI desktop. I'm going to connect to a web page. In this case, it's the IMDb Top 250 Movies page. I'm going to need this URL in just a few seconds. From the Power BI desktop getting started screen, I'm going to hit Get Data, and as I'm going to connect to a web page, I'll search for web and just choose that data source. Now I need to paste back in that URL. And you can see all of the tables in the HTML page that has been found. Table 0 is the one that I want. That shows me all the different movies. I'll just select that one and hit Edit. In this query editor view, I can see all of the columns that were found from that web page. I'm actually only interested in these first two, the rank and title and the rating. I'm going to choose to remove the other columns. And I want to split the rank and title up so that I've got separate columns for rank, title and year. So I'm going to start by splitting that column. And I'm going to use the full stop to do this. And I'm just going to do it once at the leftmost delimiter. Now I've got my rank. And this shows title and year. So I need to split this one again. But this time I'm going to split it on one of the left parentheses. That's title sorted out. And now to just clean up this year column, I'm actually just going to replace that right parenthesis with nothing. That effectively just deletes it from this column. Now my year's sorted. The last thing I want to do is actually add a custom column that shows me the decade that each movie was released. So I'll come to Add Column, use Add Custom Column, and here I can type in a formula that expresses pretty much anything that I want to transform this data. This is my formula. It just takes the first 3 digits of the year and appends 0s. I'm going to call this decade. I'm done. The last thing I'll do is just name this query. This is our top 250 movies. So I've finished with this data. I'm going to choose to close and load here. My data is loaded now, and I can see all of those columns over on the right hand side. So let's take a look at some of these movies. Let's take a look at our title, the average rating, and maybe let's look at this as a bar chart. I probably want to sort this as well, so I'm going to come up and choose to sort it by rating. And I can see that the most popular movie on IMDb is The Godfather, followed by Shawshank Redemption. Let's take a look at some other charts. Well, let's insert a little pie chart, and let's take a look at the decades and the number of movies that were released in each decade. Well, I can see that the 2000s are the most popular movie decade, followed by the 90s. What about those average ratings by decade? Well, let's take another look. Let's take a look at our decade rating again. I want to actually see the average though this time. Let's look at this as a line chart. Well, I can see here that the best decade for movies was probably the 1990s, but the 70s were pretty close behind. So that was a really quick overview, just showing you how you can connect to data and transform it on the way into the Power BI desktop. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Will. By far the most exciting area and last week's general availability release was around enhanced report design and web authoring. Finally, our community has fine-grained control of charts, colors, custom colors. You can add your logos. You can enter annotations to add context to your reports with rich text and URLs for hyperlinks to other reports or supporting information. We've added popular data visualizations such as the waterfall chart that quite a few sales groups and financial organizations like to use, donuts, area charts, combination charts with dual axes. Another area that we added last week was Excel full fidelity report rendering in the browser. And this is way cool. I've taken the same demos that I used in the summer, July of 2012 to be specific, with my Excel 2013 release at that time, and my pivot charts, my pivot tables, the quick explorer, the slicers, all of that is fully functional. In addition to Power View being fully functional in the browser now in powerbi.com. I didn't have to make any changes, it just works. So let's take a look at all these different features that were added both in the Power BI desktop and also in the web browser, meaning you don't have to have any type of desktop at all. You can literally just use a browser to create these visualizations. So let's explore the new Power BI desktop. This was formerly called Power BI Designer. It's a standalone Windows app. It is free. It comes in both 32-bit and 64-bit. If you have 32-bit Office, you can use side by side a 64-bit desktop, and that's indeed what I have in my environment here. You will see right away there's a new look and feel. It looks pretty awesome. And I'm going to grab an AdventureWorks demo here for my Microsoft fans. We will recognize the data model, and let's explore a few of the new features that we have in here. Well, first of all, you'll see a few things that are new, but I'm going to start with getting data. So in the Get Data dialog, and this is where you would start building an app, you can see if you scroll to the bottom, there's a few new data source types. And they have beta on there. These are the software as a service types. You'll see QuickBooks, GitHub, a few of the other ones in here. These are newer data sets. That's why we have them in a beta. Moving on to the new transformations that are available. This is the Power Query view per se. We're just calling it the query editor. We're not necessarily calling it Power Query in here. And you will see we have a couple new features in here. The first one we have is some new transformations. If I go into the transformation tab, we have the ability here to extract the first, last, and range of characters from a text column. So if I pick extract, you can see we've got first, last, and range. These are new features here. We also have the ability in the split to split by a delimiter type. We can specify that. So in the advanced options, if I click on down, you can say what you want to split by there. And there's also some joins and merge types here. I'm not going to load this. I already have this data loaded from my AdventureWorks dialog. So as I explore in here, you'll see I have a data view, so I can preview the data that I have in my model. And I also have a relationships view or a model view. And you'll notice in here I have a couple different fact tables. I have fact internet sales and fact resale sales. You are not limited to one fact table. That seemed to be some confusion in the past. We have various different relationship types. In my particular model, I have mostly one-to-many, so it is a star schema for the most part here. I don't have any fancy one-to-one relationships. You can edit relationships and add additional relationships. So if I were to bring in, say, a CSV file and want to mash it up or a different type of data source, it will automatically detect. In this case, it automatically detected the relationship because of the keys when I brought this in, which was wonderful. And we'll do that for your relational sources with those keys. If you have named columns, and I think I mentioned this earlier, it will name on a relationship. So for some of those other relationship types that I mentioned earlier, we talked about the different cardinalities that are available. Those are hidden under advanced options. So if you do want to manually set your own relationships and override what was automatically detected, you can do that in the relationships dialog. I'm going to cancel out of there. So now that you have brought in and transformed data, prepared it for analysis, loaded it into a model, defined your relationships, potentially mashed it up. I just have AdventureWorks in this particular demo. However, I've got some other ones that are blended demos. Now we can go ahead and create reports. So if I go back into the report view, you'll notice a few things here that folks are pretty excited about. So if I click on a chart type, the first thing that we'll see here are there's additional visualizations. So we have a new waterfall chart type. I should probably zoom in on that. Let's take a look at some of the new visualization types we have. So we have a new waterfall chart type. We have combination charts. We have area charts. Quite a few different chart types here. One of my favorite things is a simple little card. I love the simple little card. The other thing that we have brand new in here is a rich text box. So if I wanted to add some annotations on here, squeeze this down per se, and add rich text box annotations, I can do that. I can say, note, this is Microsoft BI fans' favorite data source of all time. And you know it is. And you know where you can get this? On CodePlex. And guess what? If you have, you'll notice here as I type this, it recognizes the URL. So now I have, and well, let's put that bold for everybody. There you go. So now I have the ability to create rich text annotations and add context to my reports. There's a few other things that I'm sure you guys are seeing in here that you're pretty excited about. For instance, images, in this case, my logo. So I do have the ability to insert an image now. I also have the ability to control colors. So in this case, if I look at the visualization bar, I have my different fields here that you may be used to from the first builds. It just looks a little different. And now I also have this little paintbrush, and that's where a lot of really good stuff lives. So if I go to my paintbrush, I now have the ability to control legends, the text itself, titles, where you want it located, the colors, and we'll dig into that in just a moment, the axes, data labels, and I love data labels. I'm older, it's harder for me to see some of these little teeny tiny charts. Titles and backgrounds. So let's take a look at colors, because by far I've answered this question every single day, multiple times per day, probably this past year, easily, if not for several years now. And it is indeed coming, and here it is. You have it right now, and you can start tooling around with it. So we have themed colors in here. And you also have the ability, and I really enjoy this because I love to design myself. I'm a very creative person. If you know the hex code of the color, you can also leverage that as you can choose different data points. So if I want on these particular ones, so for 2007, if I wanted that to say be purple instead, I could go ahead and pick purple. Another thing that I really like about the colors is the ability to do gradient shading. In this case, it's interesting. We're calling it diverging. So if I go back to my colors, you'll see here I have, it's called diverging, and it has minimums and maximums. I can set the different color ranges and what I want for minimums and maximums. And the other place where this comes really handy is if you have negative values and maybe you want to have it, or you have a certain target. Sales folks have targets all the time, and you want to set a certain color if you've achieved your quota or you've reached threshold, for instance. So I can go ahead and turn on my colors there. As I further explore, you can see everything is indeed still contextually interactive. I can go ahead. In this case, I have custom colored. We're having tool tips on here. We have filters on the side. In this case, we're calling this a slicer, and slicers will continue to be invested in to have different types of ways to display them. If I go back, another thing that you can do is you can highlight. So if I pick, say, sales amount, I can certainly highlight different types of values if I have a legend. So if I want to highlight all of 2007, 2006, you don't necessarily have to use the different charts themselves. You can use the legends as well as filters per se to contextually, interactively target. If you do want to use filters, there's two different levels. You have a visual level filter, and you also have a page level filter that's available for you to be more fine-grained in your targeting. We also have thematic maps. We have our fields here and our field list on the side. Should probably zoom in on that for a second. What is not necessarily apparent is that you can right-click on a field, and while in the flow of analysis, add a measure, rename the column, and essentially you are editing your semantic model right in line. So if I went ahead, and let's go ahead and do that, on fact internet sales, I have a measure here. All I had to do to add that was to right click and say new measure, or I could say new column. I can hide these, rename, etc. So you can do that right there without having to bounce back and forth. That was some of the feedback that we received. And if I look, I have contextually sensitive. I know I'm bouncing all around, guys. Sorry about that. Trying my best. I now have the ability to have my measures, and they're fully, IntelliSense. They're IntelliSense friendly. So if I go ahead and let's pretend it's not there, I can go ahead and as I type, you'll see that I get prompted. Oops, if I can type. And if you click tab, it'll accept the value that you're on and prompt you for the next one in the formula. And we have over 200 DAX formulas that you can use. You can get pretty sophisticated in your modeling. It's one of the richest features and areas that we have is the DAX as well as the M for data prep. So let's say I want to go ahead and publish. So I'm ready to go. I love my report here and I'm ready to publish. We have a brand new one-click publish button, so I can go ahead and publish this up to powerbi.com. It'll say save my changes. And it'll go ahead and publish it up to powerbi.com. Now I did publish this already. Does it want to replace it? I don't. I'm just going to leave this be. We'll go and take a peek at powerbi.com right now. So, my favorite fish background. If I go and look, here is the updated powerbi.com. You'll notice the theme again has been revamped for GA. We have the nice color schemes in here. I've got my dashboard, and as I click into a tile, I have my fully interactive reports here. You see all my tiles are moving. Go to my summary here. I can highlight again. And let's say I want to edit this. I can also edit in the browser. So if I say edit report, you have the same rich capabilities that I showed you for authoring visualizations in the web browser. So I'll go ahead and put my rich text box. This is Microsoft fans' favorite data source. And I won't bother with the other one for right now. We'll just leave it at this to keep on going. But you get the idea. So you can certainly do all the different types of capabilities that I just showed you on the desktop, with the exception of creating these models right here in the browser. As I move to my charts, I'll get the same paintbrush. I can control colors. I can say I want 2005 instead of being blue, I want it purple. There we go, it's purple. And I've got all the different features here for interactive reporting on the fly and on the go. You don't even have to have a desktop app to do this. You can create brand new ones as well. So if I do want to create a new one, let's do that so you believe me. I'll go ahead and pick something really simplistic for now because we have a lot to go through. So let's see what product line. Oh, that's way too boring. Model name. There we go. Much, much more exciting. And fact internet sales. I'll go ahead and make this a column chart. And we'll go ahead and sort it. Sort by sales amount. Maybe I want to now color it by, let's do colors. Let's put some data labels on for me. All right. So that is authoring in the browser. So I can go ahead and save this. I'm not going to bore you with continuing to author in the browser. I think you guys will understand that. So there's a few other things here that you see that you have not seen before. Let's take a look at Workspace. So workspaces allow you to have group collaboration. And in the next section of the presentation, we'll be talking about workspaces. I have 2 workspaces here, my dashboard in a day that my peers Sandy Rivas and Siva have been working hard on, and Patrick LeBlanc. We've been sharing some assets there. And I also have a Gen Demo one. So what I have here is I've created a group called Gen Demo, and I can see I've got members on this group. There's calendars. We can edit the group. We can leave the group. We can have, different files and, collaboration with conversations. If I did want to edit the group, when you create a group, you'll see this similar UI. It's on the side here. You can either create a new group or you can leverage the groups that are in Office 365, and you would go ahead and edit similar to a type of group that you would add on a Windows machine or maybe a file share somewhere in SharePoint if you've ever used those types of apps. Other things that are new besides these groups are the ability, if I look in here, I can take a look at how much size has been used. So we've got these new capabilities here. This is what's owned by myself here, is this little tiny one. I can also create a content pack. And again, we'll have another section just on this, so I'm not going to go through this right now. We have another demo for you on creating content packs, but that's where they're located. You can also view content packs. If we go to getting data, you'll notice there's a new interface for getting data. You can get data from a library of sources that have been made available for you. And we at Microsoft love this feature. So for instance, we can have our CFO demo. We have our people view. I'm not sure if I see people view on this one here. But essentially, this is how we are internally using Power BI. Satya Nadella shared at Convergence that he does use this to manage his entire business, global business right now. So he is an early adopter, and he is absolutely using these types of features. Some other things that are new here, if I look at services, you'll see some of the new services. The QuickBooks that I mentioned was new, MailChimp and Google Analytics. We have a few other ones in here, and you'll keep seeing these. These are what gets released pretty much on a weekly basis. So if you do want to keep up with us, follow us on Twitter, because that's usually what happens is someone on our team will tweet it, and that's the first news anybody gets that we have released a new data source. We have databases. And these, for me, are the most exciting sources that are available. So we have Azure SQL Database. These are true direct connects, meaning you're not leveraging your space on PowerBI.com. So you can scale to really large projects. Azure SQL Data Warehouse, very, very cool. Allows you to scale up and scale down on demand on a data warehouse. And SQL Server Analysis Services tabular mode. And I forgot to mention in the desktop, we do have, as well as here, direct connect to SQL Server Analysis Services. So again, you're just issuing queries. You're not copying data. You don't even have to open up a firewall port to get the data sets for leveraging hybrid business intelligence. And the newest one, Spark. So Spark is a high performance big data connector and creating quite a buzz in the industry. Last but not least, we have file-based data sources. You can upload local files. You can use OneDrive, or you can import different files. One of the nice things we have here is Quick Nav to other Office 365 applications. The other thing that I mentioned was new inside of PowerBI.com was the ability to upload and render Excel reports. And I have one here. Let's see if I can find it. It's my old demo. Here it is. From the SQL Server 2012 days when we launched BI inside of Excel, the Power Tools. It was July of 2012 when I used this demo. Now this is going to say there's a few features not in there, but that's that would show up in the first version as well if there's some text that I have in there. How this works exactly, you can slice and dice exactly like it did inside of that version of the first version, I would say, of Power BI when we launched it several years ago. So I've got all my slicing and dicing. I have my quick explore. So folks that do like pivot tables, pivot charts, you're able to leverage them here as well. We will be adding the ability to pin these to a dashboard as well. Right now, it's just fully rendering all of these capabilities. Another really cool capability that we have is if you use Office Web Apps, and I'll show that in just a moment, we have the ability to render those as well. You do have the ability in here, get all of your existing reports published, and they're still functional, and you can still tool around in here as well. So that's a really nice enhancement for my Excel friends on the call. That's definitely going to be enjoyed by a lot of folks. The other thing that I mentioned that was kind of fun, again, with the full fidelity Excel, you really do get full fidelity Excel online. One of the features of that is the custom visualizations. So the Office web apps, or agaves per se, there's several of them in there in the library for Excel Online. You can publish them and use them here as well. So that's kind of a fun fact per se. So that wraps up what's new in this particular section. Let's move on to digging in deeper into groups and content packs. We introduced 2 new features for group collaborations and creating organizational level content packs. Groups enable team collaboration and sharing of Power BI content across different work groups. With this new feature, teams now have the ability to collaborate and work on the same set of dashboards, reports, and data sets. You can either access your existing Office 365 groups from Power BI, or you can create a new group. Simply add your coworkers to this group and you can start building dashboards and reports that your entire team can share and consume. Organizational content packs allow users, BI professionals, subject matter experts, and system integrators to create their own sets of content packs and share pre-built dashboards, reports, and data sets within an organization. Almost every company has standard content that they need to publish out to the wider organization. Power BI makes that process extremely simple now via a content gallery. The organizational content packs are also a great way to enable your users to leverage critical business data spanning on-premises and cloud data sources in a single location and personalize what would be the standard metrics in a view that is more meaningful for them. Let's have Will give another demo on creating content packs.
Creating a content pack in Power BI is an easy way for anyone to package up dashboards, reports, and data sets to share with other folks in their organisation. Then, it's easy for users to consume them through an easy-to-discover content gallery. To create or consume one of these content packs, you need to be a Power BI Pro user. To get started, I come to this Settings menu and choose Create Content Pack. I can choose to share this content pack with a specific group of users from Office 365. To do that, I just type in the email address for the group here. Or I can share it with my entire organisation. I give it a title, and I can add in a description. I can upload an image. This will be used in the content gallery so people can find the content pack more easily. You can see that when I choose a dashboard, there are a set of reports and data sets that automatically get selected along with it. These are the ones that the dashboard already uses. I can come and tick other reports as well if I want to add those to the content pack. When I hit publish, all of this content will get packaged up together and published out to the rest of my organisation. For reports or dashboards that connected to on-premises SQL Server analysis services, the user security will flow all the way through from whoever opens that content pack into that analysis services machine, so they'll only see the data that they've got access to. For third-party cloud services, such as Salesforce or Zendesk, the content pack creator imports that data and schedules refresh using his or her credentials. As a user who wants to consume one of these content packs, I'll find it under the Get Data dialog, under my organisation. Here's the content pack that I just created, and when I click that I'll see the same description that was published a second ago. When I hit Connect, a new dashboard, report and data set will be created for me using that same content. Consumers of the content pack can customize the dashboards and reports without affecting any other users or the source, but they can't modify the data set or refresh it. So that's a quick overview of how content packs can be used to package up information and distribute it throughout your organization. Give it a go yourself.
One of my personal favorite areas of Power BI are the native mobile apps. These are touch optimized for iOS, Android, and Windows devices, not just the tablets, but also the smartphones. That's what you carry with you every day is your smartphone. These smart apps allow you to design once and publish anywhere. It supports annotations, proactive data-driven alerts that you can define your own thresholds so that when the data changes, You're notified on your phone. You can set favorites for one quick scan view of the metrics that mean the most to you. And you can easily share findings with your peers to take action while you're on the go. In this particular release, we've improved the design and the user interface. We've added globalization within the visuals themselves, improved performance, and released the Android apps. In addition to base out-of-the-box functionality in Power BI, we also are embracing the ability to extend and open up the framework to the developer and external community. Right now, we have a REST API that allows you to push real-time data into the applications. We've had this capability since December 18th, and in this particular general availability release, we've added a few more functions into that REST API library. We've also added a new .NET developer sample and a few other samples for you to get a running start. On July 10th, we had a fairly large surprise. It's a bit of a teaser, actually. We've provided an open source D3.js commercial grade visualization framework on GitHub to allow you to develop your own custom data visualizations like you see here on the screen that KPMG created for our World Partner Conference. We will be opening up the dashboard soon for you to add them in there. It's very easy to get started with Power BI since it is a software as a service application. You basically navigate to powerbi.com in a web browser, you enter in an email address, and you are off and running within a minute. From a resources perspective, if you want to learn more about Power BI, connect with your peers, and take a look at lots of other functionality that I did not cover in this particular session, take a peek at the Power BI community that was recently launched at the end of June. We also have a knowledge base that is jam-packed with samples, tutorials, white papers, how to migrate from current version of Power BI if you're an existing Power BI user to the latest and greatest version. We also have a YouTube channel. So let's open up the floor and take questions.